What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DubsIn4 podcast. This is week 9, episode 9. We've been going strong for a while now, and we're going to be continuing with our division overview series as we have been for the past couple of weeks. Today we're moving east. We covered all the teams in the Western Conference now, so we're going to move to the Eastern Conference for episode 4 of this little mini-series here. Today we're going to be talking about the Atlantic Division, which is the best division in the Eastern Conference. It has probably the top 3 teams in the conference. Arguably, some may argue that top 3 teams in the conference in one division. So, that is interesting. This division consists of the Sixers, Nets, Knicks, Celtics, and Raptors. So, we're just going to be going over the order of teams here, what I think is the best team in the, best to worst. Some of their changes they made in the offseason and what I'm expecting from them this year. Just a really quick overview. But before I do that, I will jump into one thing that happened today, just as a week and an overview for this week. Today, Dwayne Wade announced that he will be returning to the Miami Heat for one more year of basketball. That's cool. I've always loved Dwayne Wade. He's a great player. Really awesome guy. I'm excited to see him back for one more year. See what he can do as he finishes out his career, year 16. But yeah, D-Wade's always been one of my favorite players. I have a lot of respect for him, so it's cool to see him come back for another year. But anyway, he's not in this division. The Heat are not in the Atlantic Division. So we're going to talk about the teams that are. And the number one team, best team I think, is the Boston Celtics here. This one is close between them and number 2. But I think that Boston is the better team. Just because they had not much change in their roster this year. They drafted Robert Williams, and I believe that's really about it. I don't think they had any other major, free agency or trades or anything go on with them. Just a really, really solid roster, top to bottom. They're getting Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving back from injury. Just like their starting 5 could all be all-stars this year. A lot of people talk about, the Warriors have a starting 5 of all-stars. In the Eastern Conference, I think Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, realistically, they could all be all-stars. I'm not sure what will happen with that. Jaylen Brown, maybe not. Tatum, depending on how much improvement he makes. If Horford regresses this year because of age. Injuries could keep them out of that as well, but we'll see. But I think they have really solid starting 5, really solid bench as well. Terry Rozier, Marcus Morris, just overall top to bottom, the Celtics are a really, really tough team. And I'm predicting them to go to the finals this year. I think it just makes sense as long as they're healthy. I think they're clearly the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. So I have them going to the finals. But yeah, I have them as the best team in this division here. And then number 2, I have the Toronto Raptors. I think it's relatively close between 1 and 2. I think the Celtics have them beat, though. But the Raptors at 2, this is a totally new team this year. They traded away DeMar DeRozan, which was their best player, for Kawhi Leonard, who is better than DeMar DeRozan. And from what we've seen so far, it looks like Kawhi is actually excited to be there, and he will play this season. And it looks like he's made, recovery from that. So we'll see how that ends up. They also added Danny Green in that trade as well. He's a nice, solid piece off the wing. He can provide good wing defense, stuff like that. Good minutes from Danny Green there too. Nice rotational piece for them. So the Raptors are a totally different team. They have a new coach as well, Nick Nurse, even though he was promoted from one of the assistant coaches. So it shouldn't be too much of a change, but they do have a new head coach, so a little bit of a change up in Toronto this year. They have Kawhi Leonard, which automatically puts them as one of the good teams in the league. Kawhi is a top 10 player when healthy. Some may argue top 5, although I am not one of those people. But I do think that he will make them better than they were with DeRozan last year. Kawhi's a more efficient player, better defensively. I think he's more efficient scoring-wise, in my opinion. But we'll see how that goes. Kawhi on the Raptors, and if he decides to stay there, then that's really good for them because they have their franchise player now. And that's seeming more and more likely as time goes on. We've had some reports that say that he's more likely to stay there than we initially thought. So that's cool. That's good for them. After the Raptors, I have number 3. I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Some people may argue that these are the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference as a whole, in this division. So we'll see. But I have the Sixers here. They're a very similar team to last year as well. Didn't make many changes, similar to the Celtics here. They did add Wilson Chandler on the wing in a trade with Denver, which was a salary dump for the Nuggets, but Sixers got a nice piece out of that. Drafted Zaire Smith, but he's hurt because all their rookies always get hurt. Year 2 from Ben Simmons, another year from Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, Robert Covington, JJ Redick is back on a 1-year deal. So they've got a pretty similar team to last year. They did lose their 2 shooters around Ben Simmons. That's my biggest concern, is they've lost now Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova. Wilson Chandler will help shore that up a little bit. He'll help be a bit of a replacement. He can shoot a 3. Zaire Smith would have been nice, but we don't know when he'll play this year. But I think he fits well alongside Ben Simmons. They still have JJ Redick, obviously shooting specialist. He's really solid for them. So that's my biggest worry about them, is their lack of 3-point shooting around Ben Simmons, because he doesn't have a jump shot, and in order for him to be as effective as he can be, he needs people to kick it out to on the wing. So if he doesn't have that, the Sixers will be less successful. We'll see. I don't know if they'll take a step back this year. I think they'll probably just be about the same as they were last season. I think Ben Simmons will have a stronger year in year 2, more improvement from him. As he develops, hopefully he'll be able to develop a jump shot a little bit. That would turn him into a much better player, in my opinion. Joel Embiid he'll be continuing to get better. Dario Saric as well. So Sixers are still a good team. I don't have them better as the Raptors or the Celtics. I don't think they're quite at that level yet. Although all their star players are still very young, they have years to, try to contend and build a team around Embiid and Simmons to win championships, and I think they'll be able to do that down the line at some point. This year, though, I don't see them being a top 2 team in the conference. Okay, and then we get down here, and it's a pretty significant drop-off from the first 3 teams to these last 2. The first 3 teams, as I've said, they could arguably be the top 3 teams in the conference. And then these bottom 2 could arguably be the worst 2 in the conference, although I will not argue for that. These bottom 2, the Nets and the Knicks, I have the Nets at number 4 here. I think the Nets are better than the Knicks this year, because of the fact that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be injured for the first half of the season. Torn ACL for Kristaps. He'll be out until around January, I believe, January-February range. So we'll see what happens with that. But until Kristaps comes back, the Knicks have nothing. They did draft Kevin Knox, and he's looked really good for them. He looked really good in Summer League, looking like a very, very nice pick there. Dude can score. For sure, he can get you buckets. But yeah, Kevin Knox he'll be a good pick for them, I think. He'll turn into a really nice player. But as for this year, the Knicks really have nobody. So I need to go back, talk about the Nets. We're talking about the Nets. Nets are number 4. They're just overall a solid team. And guess what? They get their draft pick next year. I said solid. They're not solid. They're below average. But compared to how they've been the past couple of years, this is a better Nets team, I think. D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, Jarrett Allen coming back. They look like they do have guys who are going to be able to be, really good NBA players. They keep, some of this young core around. They'll be able to build a nice team around that. But yeah, they get their pick next year. Look at that. You get your first round picks. Your debt to Danny Ainge has been paid off. You no longer have to give up your first round pick every year because you wanted to try to win with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. So yeah, Nets are free of their curse, and I think overall this year they have a much better team than they've had in past years. Just a lot of guys who are quality NBA players. Spencer Dinwiddie's really underrated. Same thing, Karis LeVert, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, all these guys, they can give you good quality NBA minutes, and they're only getting better. A lot of these guys are young. They're only going to improve. But the biggest thing I did hear rumors that they were looking at trading Spencer Dinwiddie to the Suns. The Suns are looking for a point guard. I personally, if I was the Nets, I wouldn't trade Dinwiddie unless the Suns give you an offer you can't refuse, which I mean, I don't know why the Suns would give up, anything more than a couple second-round picks. They shouldn't give up a first-round pick for a guy who's in the last year of his contract and is about a league average starting point guard, I would say. But we'll see. We'll see if the Suns can give them, a nice deal. If I was the Nets, I would bite on that. If they can get, a couple draft picks out of the Suns, but I don't see that happening realistically. So, Nets are getting better, and they have their picks now, so they will try to not suck for the next 10 years. There's light at the end of the tunnel for the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, now moving to the Knicks. As I mentioned, they don't have Kristaps for the first half of the year. I think they're going to struggle. They still have Frank Ntilikina. Hopefully he makes an improvement. His first year was okay, wasn't great. He needs to, make improvements, seeing the floor. He's still very young. I believe he's only 19 at this point. So he needs to, make some improvements in his game, but he'll be there. And then, Kevin Knox again. They still have Tim Hardaway. They still have, Enes Kanter. Other than that, this team isn't great. Yeah, and without Porzingis, they're going to struggle. So I have them down here. When Kristaps comes back, if he is fully healthy, I think they'll be a much improved team. I think he'll really help them out a lot. But until that happens, I have the Knicks as the worst team in this division, possibly the worst team in the Eastern Conference. But they have some players, but without their star, they're gonna have a rough time. So anyway, I think that is going to do it for today. Those are that's my tier list for the Eastern Conference Atlantic Division. We've got the Celtics at number 1, Raptors 2, Sixers 3, and then take a little bit of a jump down, and we've got the Nets at 4 and the Knicks at 5. So that's going to be it for today's episode. This was episode 9. Cool, man. Next week we'll have episode 10. I'll be talking about one of the other divisions in the Eastern Conference. Not really sure which one yet. We'll see. But once we get done with this, we'll move into some more like preseason kind of things. Warriors are starting preseason basketball. I believe it is 2 weeks from today. So I will have that to talk about as soon as I finish with this. And then the season starts actually a month from today. October 16th, that is actually my birthday. So happy birthday to me. I get Warriors basketball, getting their rings at home against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That'll be exciting. I'm really excited for that game and for the season to start. So just a month left of the off season. We're in the dog days of summer here still, but there is light at the end of the tunnel for us, just like the Brooklyn Nets. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week.